everyone, welcome to Only CUET and myself Dr. Diksha. So guys, we'll be discussing PYQ 2 today, right? As you can see at the back of my screen, I have the paper displayed and we'll do one more round of discussion discussing each and every MCQ. I'll repeat the same thing again, that what do we have to actually analyze here is that how do we solve the questions, right? How do we reach that technique of solving the questions? It's very important. Plus you should have the conceptual knowledge. That is the foremost thing, right? Before that nothing is possible. Okay. Also one more major thing is that how to use your brain and calculate that what can be the correct answer if you are doubtful about the concept. Okay, that's the major drawback that students lack while attempting the paper. So while discussing, I'll teach you all the techniques. Surely in the previous PYQ as well we have discussed the same, and today also we will refer the same concepts. Come on. Let's start with question number 1. First statement says that select the statements which hold true for immune system. Okay, first of all I want to know that what do you guys understand by immune system? Immune system is one system of our body, that's an organ system basically. We know that our body is composed of cells. Cells primarily club together to form tissues. Tissues club together to form organs. Organs further form organ systems, and organ systems collectively form an organism. So here one of the organ system we are talking about is the immune system, and this immune system is made up of multiple cells called as the T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, etc. Okay, so we have various cells clubbing together and organizing an immune system. Now, reading its first point says innate immunity or non-specific immunity is present at the time of birth. Now, the primary function of this immune system is to protect from diseases. To protect from diseases. Right, we are facing any kind of problem, immune system is there to fight for us, right? So such a thing, such a protection which immune system offers is termed as immunity. The protection offered by immune system is termed as immunity. Okay, now talking about this immunity, innate immunity or non-specific is present at the time of birth. That means this immunity, this protection offered is further of two types, innate and the second one acquired. Innate immunity is the protection which the immune system offers by birth. That is inculcated in the immune system. While we are born, the immune system knows that we have to protect it. Okay? So it's the non-specific immunity, right? But acquired immunity is the one which is acquired in the lifetime due to some effect of a pathogen. Pathogen is an organism which causes diseases. So I am right now here saying that acquired is acquired during the lifetime while there is a pathogen related infection. And here it is written the acquired immunity is never pathogen specific. So this statement holds correctly wrong and we need to choose here true. So B is out of option. Option B, C, D eliminated. A will be the correct answer. Though we will discuss C and D as well, but I have just told you how to attempt very quickly. Okay, C part says cytokine barriers are a part of innate immunity. Yes, they are. We will be reading in detail about cytokine barriers in the chapter. Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease. I am very sure you must have heard about the disease called as arthritis. So arthritis is joint pains, body inflammation. Okay, such rheumatoid arthritis is one which is autoimmune. Autoimmune means where immune system starts to attacking its own self. Okay, so here such a situation happens, so this statement is also correct. So A, C and D holds the true and thereby the answer of first question is A. Correct. Moving to question number 2, what does it say? Match list 1 with list 2. This is a proper factual question, right? You should have learnt these, then only you will get to know the answers. I cannot, even tell you about any other ways, trick or technique. But yeah, myself, if I ever solve this question, how do I do it? That Brassica, I remember, is Pusa swarnim. I know that it is known by this name. This I know. Okay. So A is fourth, and A is fourth given only in A part. So that is how I could reach to the answer for this question. Second, okra, B is Pusa swani, whereas cowpea is komal and chili is sadabahar. Okay, this is a proper factual learning question which you will learn and then only you will have an idea about this. Otherwise, it's better to skip such a question since negative marking takes away a lot of marks. Okay. Question number 3. Bacillus thuringiensis produced Bacillus. You remember we studied some shapes of bacteria in our previous classes. We studied about cocci shaped bacteria. We read about Bacillus shaped bacteria. Okay, so one such bacteria is the Bacillus thuringiensis that produces Bt toxin crystals. So it produces some crystals which contain this toxin. It does not kill bacterium itself. While they are releasing the toxin from their own body, they should have also got killed since it is a toxin. But it's a matter of fact that they do not get killed since this toxin in them is present in inactive form. Okay, so that's how the answer would be B part. Moving to question number 4, asexual reproductive structure of sponge. Sponge is an organism found at the lowest level. If you remember animal kingdom, then you must have been heard or aware about the word phylum sponges. So in those we have organisms called as sponges whose asexual reproductive structure is gemule. This gemule is actually formed by the collection of choanocytes, the collar-like cells of the sponges. Question number 5, net primary productivity. Now, if we are talking about the net primary productivity, we are actually discussing about the, like for example, what happens is we have sold something, but whatever we have sold, we must have purchased also at some price. So, what we have sold is not the profit, but one which is the difference between the both is the profit. Okay, or the loss whatsoever. So that's the net amount, but the total amount is the selling price on which you have sold at. Correct. So here also they are talking about the same thing, that the net primary productivity is the rate of production and minus the respiratory losses, because if they are producing the organic matter, that's also being used in respiration, right? So the net, while we deduct both, the net obtained is the NPP. So D part is the correct answer for us. So here we have completed the discussion of first 5 questions, and I hope you have understood that how is this discussion happening. Now moving to the next question, I want to bring to your notice that here we are talking about 2 nucleotides. 2 nucleotides linked together to form a dinucleotide. So these are 2 nucleotide chains which are together forming the dinucleotide through the options tell us these 4 options: 3 to 5 phosphodiester linkage, 2 to 5 phosphodiester linkage, 1 to 5 phosphodiester and glycosidic linkage. So what happens is that one nucleotide has the 3rd position while the other has the 5th. So it's a very, very common line where it is written that the 2 nucleotides are together linked by 3,5 phosphodiester linkage. Okay, and this is just the chemical structure while the 2 nucleotides combine forming a dinucleotide chain. So if you want to memorize like how is this taking place, so you have to give a look at the chemical structure and thereby you will remember that how the groups are being combined, right? So 3 to 5 phosphodiester linkage helps in connecting the 2 nucleotide chains. Match list 1 with list 2 in question number 7 says Down syndrome. Now Down syndrome is a situation where we see the alteration of 21st chromosome. I don't know how many of you must have heard about this or no. Down syndrome is related to 21st chromosome. Whenever you study this, if you do not remember any XYZ thing, but you remember that Down syndrome is chromosome number 21 alterations. So by that only you can directly match Down syndrome with trisomy of 21st chromosome. Klinefelter's we had discussed in previous paper also, that it is the presence of additional copy of XX chromosome. Remember? Whereas Turner syndrome lacks copy of X chromosome. On the other hand, the color blindness is the mutation of X chromosome since it is linked to it. Okay, so how in the X chromosome keeps on changing, based on that we have color blindness problems. So matching A is 4th, B is 2nd, C is 1st and D is 3rd. So B part is the correct answer. Then next, the process of pro-insulin. Pro-insulin, what happens is, pro-insulin is actually an inactive form, or I'll say like you must have studied in class 10th about pepsin and pepsinogen. Right. So pepsinogen was the inactive form. It was activated by the acidic medium and then it got converted into pepsin. So here also this proinsulin is the inactive form. It basically gets converted into insulin by removal of C-peptide from its chemical structure. Right. So insulin is a hormone. Right, and it's basically a peptide hormone, I would rather say. Now what happens is the C-peptide gets removed and then the pro-insulin gets converted into insulin. Cool. Question number 9, which is the biofortified variety. Biofortified means well developed. Like you must have read in class 9th in chapter improvement of food resources that the varieties are hybridized to form a new one, and that new one is further developed. So biofortified variety of wheat with high protein content is this is for wheat. So for wheat we have Atlas 66. So actually this variety has comparatively a more percentage of protein than the actual wheat. That is why it is biofortified. Normally wheat has more of carbs concentration. Question number 10, which is not a type of sexually transmitted infections. So if I talk about STDs, that is sexually transmitted diseases, we hear about a number of diseases. The foremost is the AIDS. When talking about other, we have syphilis, gonorrhea, right, warts, but cancer is never included in STDs. So B part, cancer, lies the correct answer over here. Next, question number 11. Arrange the following steps of sewage treatment in correct sequence. Before I read all these concepts, just let us give a quick revision at sewage treatment. Normally, if I talk to you, what actually happens, the sewage arrives. So first we will pick up the floating debris. We will segregate that floating debris from the sewage and then we will pass on it for the primary treatment. Now once the primary effluent is passed to the aeration tank, it is quickly agitated. Right, while it is agitating means it's rotating at a higher speed, the flocks mostly consume the organic matter and reduces the biochemical oxygen demand. The BOD is reduced and then passed for the secondary treatment. Now if I see these options, you can take a look over here. Just a second. Yes, so here first of all we will have removal of floating debris and grit. This will be the first, as I told you, right. Then secondly, primary effluent is passed into the aeration tank. Fine. Then we have flocks consumal organic matter. Just a second. Yes, now you see. Okay, this is fifth. The first is removal of floating debris and grit. Then primary effluent passed into the aeration tank. After that, consumer and reduces the biochemical oxygen demand. Once the BOD is removed, the bacterial flocks are allowed to sediment and thereby the effluent is released for the secondary treatment. So very quick and very go through ones. So the answer over lies is A part. Okay, and we have successfully completed the discussion of first page. I hope it's crystal clear to you. We'll be starting with question number 12 over here. Sorry. Select the high yielding and disease resistant varieties of rice from the following. Okay, so I'll tell you the well developed rice varieties are Sonalika and Kalyan Sona, and that is why they are high yielding and disease resistance. So A and C lies the correct option. This is also a learning question. You know, you cannot tukka fire over here just considering ki mark anything. No, you should have some prior knowledge for this. Then ABO blood grouping system. Now in this question you can apply a technique. Like what happens is if you get confused between the options, you remember how do we denote it? We write it like this. Okay, so this is the gene actually which is representing, and these are the alleles A, B and O, right? So ABO blood grouping system is represented by gene I. Correct? Interesting enough? Then question number 14 says which of the following is not made by fermentation. Now for example, I know that bread though is definitely by fermentation, dosa batter is also by fermentation, I know that, and leftover options are toddy and aerated drinks. Now for example, I do not know what is toddy, but I know that what are aerated drinks. So aerated drinks do not involve any alcoholic content. So they are not mostly fermented, right? Whereas a toddy is a alcoholic beverage, hot alcoholic beverage. It contains the process of, it's made by the process of fermentation. So here D part lies the correct answer, not made by the fermentation. Next, which of the following hormone is secreted by the ovary in the later phase of pregnancy? See, this is a very important question, I tell you. What do students do? They mostly have heard HCG hormone in relation to pregnancy. So they quickly mark HCG. But HCG hormone, human chorionic gonadotropin, this is a hormone which is basically used to detect pregnancy. Like you sample the urine, and here in the urine this protein is detected, and HCG confirms the pregnancy of the woman. Like, but in the later phases, while the 9 months have been completed and the baby is ready to be out, parturition has arrived. At that time, in the later phase, the most favorable hormone released is the relaxin. What does this relaxin do? This relaxin relaxes the female body. How? It will relax the uterus muscles, relax the cervical muscle, relax the vaginal muscles, so that it creates a space for the baby to come out easily. So that is how this relaxin muscle is released in the last phases of the pregnancy. Finishing 15 questions for this PYQ paper, we are moving on to the 16th question, considering and discussing about the same. Choose the correct sequence of events for the process of oogenesis. Okay, first of all, what is oogenesis? Like spermatogenesis is the formation of sperm, oogenesis is the formation of ovum. We all know that when a baby girl is born, her ovary is already filled and packed with the eggs, but those eggs are immature. Fine. So that means formation of oogonia occurs in the fetal ovary. The oogonia formation has already occurred in the fetal ovary, but till puberty has been attained, nothing will happen. Once the puberty has arrived, those first meiotic division will be completed within the tertiary follicles. What are the follicles? Follicles are surrounding or holding that egg. Then the tertiary follicle changes into Graafian follicle, and finally the secondary oocyte is released from the ovary. The follicles also get matured, gets converted into Graafian, and we have release of secondary oocyte. That's the ovulation. Clear? So correct options are, first is B, then is C, then is A, then is D. So D part is the correct answer. Clear? This was entirely conceptual. Then human activities have accelerated rate of species extinction in the world. The major causes for which are. Now we are doing very bad human activities like deforestation, over exploitation of resources, habitat extinctions, because once we are deforesting, what happens is most of the wildlife exists in those forests. Many flora, many fauna are a part of that forest. All of them become inhabited, right? They lose their habitat, right? So the major causes are habitat loss, fragmentation or defragmentation. Fragmentation, they are breaking down, right? Over-exploitation, alien species invasion. Yes, we are, for our own purpose, we are disturbing the food chain, we are disturbing the ecosystem, we are introducing some species which are not meant to be part of that life. Right? So all these things are leading to major extinctions in the world because we are interfering with the natural processes. So here B, C and D lies the correct statement. Now, question number 18 says match list 1 with list 2. Okay, let's conclude. Actually, this list 1 has the methods of contraception, and these are the techniques or the things used as contraceptives. Fine. The first one is the surgical method. So, condom is a barrier contraceptive which is used as a physical method to avoid the sperms from entering into the vagina. So, barrier contraceptive is the condom. So, C part 2 here. Then natural contraceptive is lactational amenorrhea. Now, if I talk about lactational amenorrhea, it's what? That when the women after the delivery of the baby starts lactating. Okay, so while the woman is lactating, she does not menstruate. Fine. So over that time, this acts as the natural contraceptive. Okay. So lactational amenorrhea is something which will which will not allow the fusion. Then oral contraceptive is Saheli. You must have heard the advertisement on TV, right? Okay, while I was saying this lactational amenorrhea, I think I mixed two things. So just take one thing straight in your head, that lactational amenorrhea is a natural process when the fertilization cannot happen. The women cannot conceive, okay? So barrier contraceptive is condom, oral contraceptive is Saheli, and the surgical method is sterilization. So now if I match, A has third, so B is only the correct answer, right? Question number 19. Solid wastes generated from hospitals are generally disposed of by using incinerators. I'll tell you why. Incinerators are something which will convert the waste completely into ashes. Now, it's very convenient, once you have broken down into ashes, you can, there is no leftover thing, right? It's not, lying. Ashes will anyhow merge with the soil and get dissolved in anyhow. But so incinerators are the best ways to dispose the solid waste from hospitals, as those can spread diseases. So you must have heard, or you must have seen, even when you visit some hospital, there is a room separately, the waste disposal room. There are big machines called as incinerators which are kept inside there, and there this waste disposal takes place. Which of the following is not a cannabinoid? Now, cannabinoid is a type of drug, I would say, that is actually, depressing our central nervous system. Fine. It's mostly also used in the treatment for cancer patients because slowing down of brain will slow down the process of cancer cells, but it actually leads to dizziness and very slow action of the body, human body. Normally also you must have seen in the movies and everything, people consuming marijuana, ash or ganja, they are not in their right senses as well, right? They are tend to be in their own world, okay, and they actually get very slow down. Right. So, heroin is one which is not a part of cannabinoid. All the above three are cannabinoids. So, answer here lies is the D part. Okay. Completing first 20 questions of this PYQ discussion, and we will be moving on to question number 21st, which says a double-stranded DNA has 30% thymine. So, the percentage of guanine in it would be. Now, let me tell you, we have 4 nucleotides: adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine. As per the Chargaff's law, adenine should be equal to thymine and cytosine should be equal to guanine, and all the 4 should be equal to 100%. Now they have given us thymine to be 30%. So that means this also has to be 30%, and both of them calculate to be 60%. 60 minus 100, 100 minus 60, left over is 40. So that 40 has to be equally distributed between cytosine and guanine. So 40 is half is 20%. So the percentage of guanine would be 20%. Very clear cut answer. Then hormones which differ in their origin and development but perform similar function. Now I'll tell you a trick. Whenever I see such type of question, even though I'm a teacher, but then also we have to reach at the correct answer and do it as quickly as possible. So whenever I see perform similar function and I see analogous in the option, I mark it correct. Because right now the NCERT has been rationalized, but while I was in my class 10th, we had heredity and evolution complete on and whole as a chapter. So in that evolution part, one of the major important question was differentiate between analogous and homologous organs. So our teacher made it very clear that analogous means similar function. Okay, so we did it. Perform similar function, analogous. Right? Then question number 23 says match list 1 with list 2. Okay, this is something which you will have to memorize and which you should also have knowledge about. So agarose is a material which is basically used in genetic engineering procedures, and one of these is electrophoresis. Okay, so I have directly marked agarose with electrophoresis because these are the things which you need to have in your head right before attempting the questions. Whereas thermostable DNA polymerase means it's an enzyme, definitely. ASE is used for enzymes, and these enzymes are mostly a part of PCR, polymerase chain reactions. Then talking about microinjection will take alien DNA in the animal cell. That's a very small technique of introducing the gene directly into the cell. Selectable marker is ampicillin resistance gene. Now selectable marker has a function of identifying, going inside, that whether that gene is there acting or not. Okay, so it's used for ampicillin resistance gene. So marking the correct answer, A is second, and A second is we are having in 2 options. B is first, B also first, we are having in first 2 options. C is fourth. Okay, so B part is the correct answer, where A second, B first, and answer. Right. Now selecting the brain capacity of Homo erectus. Okay, the brain size, the brain capacity of Homo erectus is 900 cc. Then sickle cell anemia is autosomal linked recessive trait. Now I will tell you why. This sickle cell anemia is not a dominant trait. For example, there is a couple. One person is having sickle cell anemia and the other person is normal. Now once they marry, they have a son or daughter, but if the normal person has normal person is normal. So from there it will not have any sickle cell gene. Whereas from the person who is suffering, the baby might have. So even if the baby might have, it won't be expressed. Why? Because it's recessive, and secondly it is linked to an autosomal trait. Okay, so sickle cell anemia is basically autosome linked recessive trait. It's not linked to the sex chromosome, it's linked to the autosomes, and also it is in a recessive mode. Clear? Next, okay, halfway done, we have completed 25 questions. Moving on to question number 26, it says that the enzyme that can recognize the following palindromic sequence is. Now this is also based on your knowledge. While you study biotechnology, you learn about this enzyme E. coli 1. Okay, and this is the enzyme which recognizes the palindromic sequence. So here E. coli 1 lies the correct answer. Okay. Next, Haemophilus influenzae is an organism which causes the disease called as pneumonia. Rhinovirus is responsible for causing common cold. Wuchereria bancrofti is causing elephantiasis, and trichophyton for ringworm. This is very basic question we have already discussed in the previous PYQ also, as well as we have discussed in the junior classes also. This trichophyton causes ringworm, fungal infection. Okay, so the correct answers lies as A, fourth, D, second. So D, second is only this one. So C part will lie the correct answer. Okay. Then question number 28. Pollen grains are protected from high temperature and strong acids. Why? They are protected from very high range of temperature and strong acids due to the presence of sporopollenin. This is very important topic which is given in your NCERT in the first chapter only of this class 12 book, that pollen grains have a material called sporopollenin which is actually protecting them from high temperature. Then okay, see, for example, if you do not know the answer to this question, this is actually relating the name of organisms to chromosome number, right? So you can see rat, dog, cat, all are animals, whereas the Ophioglossum is a type of plant, and plant usually contains more number, right? So you can directly match D with 3 without any doubts. And then you can see the options. So D, third part is option number B. So you can correctly mark the correct answer. It is so easy this way to attempt the paper that you really get a lot idea that how you should move towards the questions. But we will discuss the rest also. Rat has the chromosome number 42. Dog has 78 and cat has 38. Let's check also. A, second, correct. B, fourth, absolutely correct. C, first, and D, third. Yeah, right? So this is how we can, calculate the chromosome numbers. Next, question number 30. Arrange the following stages of primary succession in water in correct sequence. What do you know about the primary succession? Primary succession is like from producers, how can the proper food chain be established? See, you have to realize this fact that while the earth started, all the organisms were not present at the same time. Slowly and slowly earth evolved, and that is how this life started. So initially the ones which were present were the phytoplanktons. Okay. Phytoplanktons, rooted submerged plants, half in water, then free floating plants, okay, I'll number them rather than highlighting them, 1, 2, then free floating plants, then marsh meadows, and then finally the trees. So C, A, E, B and D part. right? But for attempting this question, you must have the knowledge of aquatic life, of aquatic food chain, and you should know that how this is developing. Question number 31, match list 1 with list 2. Again, this is a factual question. Dodo is an organism which is extinct, and we have studied in class 8th also as well as in class 7th also. But this dodo belongs to the region Mauritius. Quagga is seen in Africa. Thylacine is a part of Australia, and Stelis sea cow is extinct organism of Russia. So dodo, A third, B fourth, C second, and D first. So D part is the correct answer. Okay. This is also a factual question. You should have known about the organisms, that from which part do they exist. Question number 32 says, R in the exponential growth equation implies what? If, for example, there is an exponential growth equation, so what does R in that indicates? Okay, so R in that basically indicates the intrinsic rate of the natural increase. That means at what rate is population increasing? Okay, so it shows the and calculates for us as the intrinsic rate of natural increase. I hope this is clear. Now talking a bit about the steps of polymerized chain reaction. Actually what happens, PCR, we have either ways discussed in the previous PYQs also, but still I'll repeat. The PCR involves very easy steps. The first, it will involve the denaturation. In normal terms, I can say first, clean off all the impurities, like you can memorize it this way. Then annealing, then coat whatever you want, then extend it a little all over, and then finally amplify it. That means creates its copies. So denaturation first, annealing second, extension third, and this is fourth. So B, A, C and D. B part. Absolutely correct answer. Question number 34 says, identify the gas which was not used by Miller in his classic experiment. So first of all, you must have heard some experiments common by the name of Miller, known as Miller's experiment. But what was Miller's experiment? Actually, Miller did some experiments based on the life which was originally present. Like for example, what did actually Miller do? He created those conditions which were present at the time when the life originated. And thereby what he did, he tried to see that how actually the world happened, right? So at the time when the world was forming, we did not have oxygen because the conditions were anaerobic. Okay, so he used methane, water and ammonia, for which we have evidence about that they used to be in the older system. So oxygen is the gas which was not used by Miller in his experiments. Correct? Okay. Starting with question number 35th, I hope that previous PYQs have been made clear to you and you have got some idea that how we will attempt the past year question or the all questions in the examination. And PYQs give a very better idea. Why? Because I personally feel that when you get an idea that what type of questions are coming in the examination, it really creates a lot of help for you people while you study the book. Okay, you get to know while reading, okay, such type of, oh, this question had been asked in the PYQs. I remember I had seen this question earlier in the examination. So maybe related to this something can be asked. So that even tells you the importance of particular topic and you get to know how to do that. Fine. Identify the statements relevant to genetically modified crop. Before I make you read this or make you understand this, I really want to know that whether you are aware about the word genetically modified crops or not. We call them as GM crops. Actually, while we are improving the variety of crops, we are usually preferring two methods. The one is hybridization and one is genetic modification. This genetic modification is actually by directly introducing the gene in the selected plant where we want to. Okay, for example, I want to improve the variety of this particular plant and I want to add the gene of that plant in which, I want to make them both breed together, right? So what can I do is I can directly select the gene of which plant I want and introduce in the same. But those crops are called as GM crops. Now what special varieties do they have? They are better pest resistant, they have more nutritional value and they have less post-harvest losses. So we have a win-win situation. Like how we have a good product, we are not more tensed about its losses. So once we had invested money in the genetical modification, we are not worried about the other losses which might happen to us during farming. Okay, so A, B and D lies the correct answers. Clear? Good. Moving on to the next part. Okay, next question is really very interesting. Zooplanktons. In the previous page only there was a question where we had read the word phytoplanktons and I told you that there are some these plants which are actually present at the base of the aquatic life, right? And they form the start of the food chain, they form the producers of the food chain. So similarly zooplanktons are also those species which suspend their development during unfavorable condition. Actually what happens, if any environmental condition comes to them which is unfavorable for them, so they undergo a phenomenon which is known as diapause. In diapause they hold their life. You know, they actually get converted into some structures which remain there until unfavorable environment, and once the favorable comes they start living again. So actually if I say in a normal language, not scientific, so they take a pause from their life. Okay, but they are living. Once the unfavorable condition has gone away, they will again be back to their original life. It's a very interesting feature that they have. Some of you might think maybe we could have done. When the situation has become unfavorable, we would go inside a shell and once everything is sorted, we would come out. But gradually and unfortunately, we do not have that feature available to us. Okay, so next. Question number 37. Identify the statements which is true with respect to euchromatin. So you know we have chromatin. What is actually chromatin? Let's discuss. What is chromatin? We know that we have a cell. This cell has a nucleus. And this nucleus has entangled chromosomes. This entangled chromosomes, when present in a group together, they are known as chromatin, and this entangled chromosome are mostly seen in the resting stage of the cell while the cell is not dividing. Actually, cell has two phases, resting phase, dividing phase. Resting, in which it's functioning normally, it's not dividing, whereas while its tenure it's over, it gets split into two and starts dividing. Right, so that time this chromatin gets entangled rather I would say, means it starts opening. Right, it will right now it's in a group, it will become like this. Okay, it will become in a loop, it will get sorted. So it's loosely packed. Obviously euchromatin is loosely packed as compared to that normal. The euchromatin has this specific feature that it is loosely packed. It stains light. Now obviously if it's loosely packed, it has some spaces in between, so the light can enter, it can stain very nicely. It's also transcriptionally active than the other one. Okay, so A, C and D for this lies the correct options in terms of euchromatin. Okay. Question number 38, what does it says? Identify the floral reward offered to insects for pollination. The floral rewards which insects get while they pollinate is, one, the pollen grains which stick to them, the nectar which they receive, and also they find a safe place to lay eggs. Okay, so the floral rewards reviews to, for the insects are A, B and D. Fragrance, they have no much relation to that. This was a very easy question because if anybody doesn't have a relevance, so I can tell that actually insects are also pollinating agents. They pick up anther from the stamen and drop it onto the stigma. So in that situation, how are insects benefit? By pollen grain, since they have that, by nectar which they suck from the flower, and also a safe place. They lay their eggs on the flower for the time being. Okay. So A, B and D are the correct options. Now 39th question says, select the statement true for baculovirus. Baculovirus is a group of viruses actually which belongs to the same genus, Baculidae. Okay, so this option lies wrong. Then they are species specific in their action. Yes, definitely they are species specific. Sorry, they will attack those species only which they have to. They will not loiter here and there. They have a narrow spectrum. When they are species specific, that is why they are narrow spectrum. They do not have a broad, right? Also, they do not have negative impact on same. All 3 points actually mean the same only. Yes, they do not have any impact on non-target insects also. Okay. So, they will only impact those insects on which they have to. They are species specific. Fine. So, A, C and D lies the correct answer, and in this we have, sorry, B, C and D. A was the wrong. So, B, C and D. Correct. Next, question number 40. Apparently the last question, because after that we will have case study based questions. So, question number 40 says joint forest management. There was a group committee, joint forest management, which was introduced. Why was it formed or introduced? To actually promote the locals to take care of their forests. So, it actually promoted local community in protecting forest, so that the people living there only get responsible for protecting their forest and do not allow anyone to cut or deforest their area. Okay. You must have heard about some movements also, Chipko Andolan movement and all. They were all related to this only. Okay. Since we have finished with the basic questions and now we will be discussing the case study based question, let's have a look over it. It is starting from question number 41, sorry. What does question number 41 says? Observe the following figures and answer the question. Now you tell me that these are the few figures which you can see. Actually they are what? These are the stages of a dicot embryo. Stages of dicot embryo. The first stage which is given over here, this is the zygote stage. When it is in the zygote form, it appears like this. The second one, when it starts dividing and its cells starting grow a little, that is known as globular stage. And as you can see, they have a big globule. Then we have next splitting like this. This is called as heart-shaped stage of the embryo. And finally, when the embryo has to develop into the plant now, it will take this phase. This shape is like final. We also call it as horseshoe or U-shape type. Okay. Now, these are the stages in embryo development in dicot. They have given you also. The first question which they are asking relevant to this is, why is it that most zygotes divide only after certain amount of endosperm is formed? Now endosperm is that material present inside the zygote which helps offering food, which helps offering growth to what? To the developing embryo, right? That is only how it will grow. So it assures nutrition to the developing embryo. So A part lies the correct answer. What is actually developing after a zygote? An embryo is only developing, right? Okay, so this was 41st question. 42 was also observed on the same diagram, but they are asking a different question, that identify the parts of embryonal axis of a dicot. Now embryonal axis is this, fine, from which it has to develop into an embryo. Now this part which they have labeled first part is basically the suspensor cells. Then this is radicle, this is plumule, and these are cotyledons. The one which grows into shoot, we call it as epicotyle, while the opposite which grows into root, we name it as hypocotyle. Okay. So parts of embryonal axis of a dicot embryo is epicotyle, plumule, radicle, but this scutellum is seen in monocots. So this is the one which we do not see, but we have to choose the correct answer. Now if I see, the correct answer will be A, B and C only, because we do not want to include scutellum. Correct. Observe the figure and answer the following question. Coleoptile and coleorhiza in the embryo of grasses are. So we had discussed dicot embryo, but in monocot embryo, written here no grasses, so monocots. So what happens is that this coleoptile and coleorhiza are some sheaths actually, where coleoptile is enclosing plumule and coleorhiza is enclosing the radicle. Right, they have one cotyledon only and they have these sheaths which are protecting plumule and radicle in the developmental stage. So basically these are hollow foliar structure. I told you there are some sheaths enclosing shoot, apex, leaf and sheath enclosing radicle and root cap respectively. Okay, so respectively, because coleorhiza is for root and coleoptile is for the upper part. Correct. So C part lies the correct statement. Then question number 44 is also based on the same, and it is asking the correct sequence for parts. Okay, this we have already done. I think in the previous only I have told you. First is suspensor. So first is B. It can be this, it can be this, because they both have B. Then second is plumule. So second is A. No, sorry, this is radicle. So second is D, this. Then third is cotyledon, this third. And this fourth is plumule. Correct. So we have good amount here, like this radicle, plumule. I thought I must have not written opposite, so I just confirmed. Then question number 45, what does it say? This also I think we have discussed, that zygote is W, then X is globular embryo, so A fourth and C first, dono mein hi hai, it's in the both. Then mature embryo is in Y, sorry, mature embryo is here, last one, Z, so B third, so B part is the correct answer, and heart shaped is the Y. Okay, so B part will be the correct answer. Then we have discussed the one case study based type question. We are moving on to the next one. What does the next one say? Observe the figures and answer the following question. Okay, we have this figure which is actually telling us the sewerage, how do we control the sewerage discharge? That's the same question. So domestic sewage primarily contains, domestic means household, sewage. Actually, what does it waste contains? It contains mostly the organic matter. So very easy, 46th B part. Then based on the same figure, they are saying indirectly biochemical oxygen demand is actually the measure of organic matter present in the water. That is what they are consuming, and that is how the waste is being treated, because they are actually consuming that organic matter and reducing the oxygen demand. Then 48th question says, if BOD of water decreases significantly and the clean water organisms start to appear, it is because the microorganism have consumed most of the biodegradable organic matter. Same question, same process. You know, they are again and again highlighting on the same part that organic matter is being consumed, and that is done here also. Okay. 49th question says, at the point of sewage discharge, the mortality of the fish and the other aquatic creatures increase. So wherever we discharge the sewage, their mortality means the death. The death rate of fishes and other aquatic creatures increase because obviously wherever we are discharging the waste, the oxygen is less, right? So due to less oxygen, the aquatic life can die. So that is why the dissolved oxygen becomes low. Okay. Then question number 50. Pollutants present in the sewage which are relatively easy to remove are. Which are the pollutants that you can remove from the sewage? Easy to remove, the ones which are floating, that ones just came and we removed them in the first step only. So that is the floating debris. Dissolved metal, dissolved salts, all these need to be reduced or deleted from this waste by some treatments. Okay, either by primary or by secondary, but the most easiest one is the floating debris form. Okay, and thus we have completed the the PYQ discussion. We have covered total 50 questions, and I hope that you must have understood that what were the concepts that were involved here. This case study and the questions previously also, we had questions from sewage discharge. Then we had a discussion about the stages of dicot embryo, therefore highlighting that sexual reproduction in flowering plants has a major portion to come from, because before also like this rewards question and many other questions were taken from this chapter. Talking about viruses, I told you in the previous PYQ also that bacteria, virus, fungus, their names, whatever diseases they cause, special features about them, they definitely are included in the syllabus, in the paper. Then talking about euchromatin, this was one extra question, and genetically modified crops. Similarly, Miller's experiment, again biotechnology, population rate, directly species, primary successions, number of chromosomes, okay, again the sickle cell anemia, E. coli. These are some important things which have the previous year questions. Agarose, DNA enzyme, microinjections, analogous organs, DNA constitution, cannabinoids, solid waste disposal, again highlighting waste disposal, contraceptive methods from human reproduction, then oogenesis from human reproduction, fermentation, pregnancy from human reproduction, blood grouping from humans, disease resistance, high yielding varieties, flocks, removal of varieties of wheat, again the syndromes which we had already covered, primary productivities, reproduction, and some name of species. So these were the questions which I have discussed today and have appeared in the examination 2023. I hope it's clear to you all and it becomes really helpful. So thank you so much for watching this video.